belonged to Peter Roach. Back in the old days, he used to rent out a room or two in the summertime, and Mossy Hennessy, I think, and the Bull Welsh, and a few of us, we'd go behind there in the grass and the flower beds, look in through the windows, and see the girls, maybe undressing if you were lucky, trying on, I remember seeing them one night trying on bathing suits. And then Mossy would always trip over something and we'd have to scatter out of there real fast. We used to do that up in the Haven Hotel too. Not the Haven Hotel as we know it now. It was just called the Haven. And it was like, belonged to the Protestant church up by Harney's shop. We used to go behind there too and watch the Protestant dances inside with Willie Watt and Paddy Carney and the Shipsies and all of that gang. And they'd be all in there and having dances and ping pong and fun, all kinds of stuff like that. Oh boy.
Yeah.
I remember one time, you remember Burke's shop? One of the Burke girls was married to an officer in the Irish Army. He decided to build a hut over there in the rocks at Councillor Strand and sell ice cream there. I remember helping him set up the shop and everything over there. Little wooden hut. The Keatings used to have a caravan up there over Councillors. They used to come there year after year after year. In the park where the tennis courts are, there was a big bush in the middle of the park one time, and it was like hollow in the middle. There was like a circle of bushes. And I think one time we went down there and strung Monty Murphy up by the feet, upside down, off of one of the bushes inside in the circle. And we used to play football and hurling down here, and they'd have sports in the summertime. And the Jepsons used to win all the races. They were away at college, and of course they were used to all the sports and games. Peter Roach used to take care of the park. One time Ernie and I, we took care of all the paths one time, trimmed all the borders, we cut the bushes. I remember meeting a girl down there one time. She was a little crazy. She was a maid. And that's where the term Fagin on the bridge came from. She used to chase around after Ernie and myself. And we used to build houses down by the cliff there, look over the edge of the cliff. The girls come in from swimming, and then they'd face the cliff, of course, to change their clothes. And you could see the moon, as they say, whatever. Then Peter Roach would find the houses that we built out of leaves, and he'd knock them down. We'd have to start from scratch again. Ernie got a job one time chipping the rust off these railings for Mr. Morris. And I helped Ernie for a couple of days, and then he painted the railings, I believe. We took on odd jobs like that, different jobs. We worked for Power the Butcher. up in Falloon or something. And I think we're doing, what was it, turnips or something, or mangels or something. We're pulling them out of the ground and cutting the tops and bottoms off. And old Power the Butcher would take it. He gave us big knives, big butcher knives, and showed us how to do it. Hold it in your hand like this and just one snip, and that's the way you do it. And I think Harrisons used to live up here. Betty Harrison, I believe, used to live in a house up there where the trees are. And they had like a sun gazebo or something. It used to turn around to face the sun. I think one of them had TB or something. I can't remember that clearly. But you could sit in this house and turn it around. It was like on a track. I remember one time 3 guys were found by the lifeboat on a raft out by the Hook lighthouse. And they brought them ashore and they were nearly dead. They brought them into Charlie McCarthy's hotel, and May McCarthy and Billy McCarthy lived there. And Nurse Barry and a couple of doctors from Waterford and that took care of these guys and nursed them back to health. They put nicknames on them because I think they were foreigners, maybe from Belgium or someplace like that. However, they gave them nicknames: Blackie, William, and Peter. And I think from what I've heard that 1 or 2 of them came back in later years to say thank you. I also remember a lady, she had blonde hair, and I think she was British, and she lived somewhere up the lane behind what used to be O'Neill's Bakery by McCarthy's Hotel. And she had 2 pit bulls or vicious dogs, and she called them Moonlight and Melody. And I think she charged somebody in the village of raping her or something like that. And it went to court, and they had the medical examiner that examined her, and they found her on the newspaper. It said she was Virgo intacta, which meant that she was still a virgin, so she couldn't have been raped. I can't think of what her name was. I remember a man by the name of Ned Houlihan. He used to sell the trees up in the woods. And I remember that he had a finger or half a finger missing on one hand. And he used to wear like a leather protection over it. And he used to have a soft hat and a mustache. Don't you remember that, Ernie? Or whoever's watching this tape? I used to, because we used to use borrowed horses in a cart to take the logs out of the woods. Usually we'd borrow them from Milo Gallagher. And then, of course, I'd be sent up then to the thrashings to kind of pay back. To pay back for my father for borrowing the horses. And they used to have a machine up there where Milo's farm was, I believe, or next to it. At one time a thrashing machine couldn't go up the hill over Councillor Strand, and the man had a steam engine up there for doing the thrashing, inside in a barn. And later on in years, I think the man's name was Morrissey, and he had a thrashing machine and a Lands Bulldog tractor. And that tractor and machine thrashing machine used to be able to go up the hill over Councillor Strand. Of course, today all that's done away with. Worked at Crotty's thrashing up in Ballymaben and for Shipsies. I remember we used to go up Powers Lane, up Queen's Terrace, up to the top. There was a field up there belonged to Thomas Shipsey, and there was a wall there, and the pilots used to go up there with their telescope. They used to call it the glass, an old telescope to watch for the ships coming in. And we used to make what was known as cribs out of sally twigs covered with herring net and held up by a piece of string, and you'd put some, I don't know, bread or stuff like that in there, and a string attached to a little piece of stick. And when the bird would go in to eat the bread, you'd pull the string and catch the bird. I think they were linnets or something like that, or goldfinches. I remember old Dave Murphy, he used to have a lot of them hanging up in cages in the summertime outside his house by Fisherman's Hole. Remember piking hay up in Shipsey's field, that same field. I guess it's a shortcut up to Coxtown, but I remember piking hay in there one time with Paddy Flynn. They used to call him Golly. And somebody came by, I don't know if it was one of the Duns or something, came by, and they had some biscuits. And the girl threw the biscuits into the field, and I went to reach for one of the biscuits, and Paddy Flynn had the fork in his hands, and he stuck the fork down to stick the biscuit, but instead of that he put the fork through my forearm, and today I still have the mark on my arm where he stuck the fork. He used to spend a lot of time down there in old Postman Glody's house, down the lower village. He used to go down there and read cowboy books, and before he'd walk home then to his house, he'd have biscuits, marigold biscuits, and a big glass of milk every night. I remember the pilots standing under the tree, Tommy Furlong, and oh my God, Paddy Flynn's father was there. He used to tell the old stories about sailing to foreign ports. Oh boy. And then, there were so many tales. I can remember so much, but right now I can't.